Hello everyone, and welcome back to our Five Nights at Freddy's guide. In today's tutorial, we will dive deeper into enhancing our main menu, adding more intricate details and improving its overall depth. We will then move on to refining other key features of the game, such as the night screen and loading mechanics, ensuring a smoother and more engaging player experience. Let's get started. In our previous guide, we created a basic main menu for our game. While it serves its purpose, there's room for improvement. In this guide, we will focus on refining the design, adding more polish, and implementing features that will enhance both the visual appeal and functionality, ultimately creating a more engaging and polished experience for the player. To begin redefining our menu, let's start by implementing a fade-in and fade-out effect for the warning text. This small, yet impactful change will enhance the overall user experience by adding smooth transitions, making the text appear more polished and dynamic. It is a simple and quick adjustment that will immediately improve the flow and visual appeal of the menu. I would like to take a moment to address those of you who are curious about how I have customized my Scratch Studio. If you are interested in personalizing your studio, I have created a detailed video guide that walks you through the process step by step. I highly recommend checking it out, as it offers an easy and effective way to make your studio uniquely yours. That one simple change has already made a noticeable difference. Now, let us move on to another important aspect that we didn't cover in the previous guide, adding a static effect to our menu. This effect will further enhance the visual experience, creating a more engaging and polished interface for the player. Let us dive into how we can implement this next. To get started, I searched for a static effect online, but you can easily do the same by looking up a GIF that fits your design. Once you find and download the GIF, simply upload it as a sprite to your project. This will allow us to integrate the effect seamlessly into our menu, adding that extra touch of visual interest. Once you have added the static sprite, the next step is to adjust it and apply some animation. This is a quick and straightforward process, similar to what we did with the introduction screen. First, we will set the sprite's transparency to ensure it blends well with the background. Then, we will resize it so that it fits properly within the screen's dimensions. Finally, we will apply the animation to give it the desired dynamic effect. As you can see, our menu now looks much more defined and polished compared to before. To further refine the appearance, feel free to experiment with a transparency block and adjust it until you achieve the effect that best suits your design. This flexibility allows you to customize the look to match the atmosphere you're aiming for, so take your time to find the perfect balance. In this next step, we will begin coding the play button. We will start by implementing a sensing script to detect when the cursor hovers over the button. To make it more user-friendly, I will also be adding a hitbox around the button. This will make it easier for players to interact with the button, improving the overall user experience by ensuring the button is more responsive to their input. Let us go ahead and set up the code for this. If you are curious about how I gained access to the opacity feature, it is part of the customization options I have enabled in my studio. If you would like to add unique features and enhance your own studio experience, I highly recommend checking out my guide on studio customization. This guide covers various settings that can simplify your workflow and make your studio more personalized and efficient. It is a great resource for anyone looking to take their studio to the next level. I would like to add an extra frame for my character in the main menu to give it more animation and make the scene feel more dynamic. While this step is not required, I am including it to enhance the visual appeal and bring more life to the character. Feel free to skip this step if you would prefer a simpler design, but I recommend giving it a try if you would like to add a bit more movement to your menu. Next, we will create our newspaper sprite. For this, I will be designing a simple newspaper animation that will appear for just a few seconds before transitioning into the loading screen. This brief display will help set the tone and give the player a sense of progression before moving on to the next part of the game. Let us walk through the steps to create and implement this animation effectively. Now that we have completed the previous step, let us move on to coding the play button. We will stick with a traditional approach for transitions, ensuring a smooth and familiar experience. When the play button is clicked, it will trigger the loading of our newspaper screen. This transition will help maintain the flow of the game and keep the player engaged. To ensure a smooth transition without any glitches, I will revisit my previous sprites and make the necessary adjustments. Our goal is to pause the main menu once the newspaper transition begins, so that everything flows seamlessly. By stopping the main menu at the right moment, we can avoid any unwanted overlapping or animation issues during the transition. Let us go over the steps to implement this and ensure everything functions as expected. As you can see, our game is now functioning smoothly without any bugs. Next, we will move on to the next loading screen, which will introduce us to the concept of the variable block. The variable block is essential for creating and storing values that can be accessed and used throughout the project. I will walk you through how to implement and utilize this block, demonstrating how it can enhance the functionality of our game. Now, let me walk you through how the variable block works in this scenario. First, we will head to the variable tab and create a new variable called nights. This variable will allow us to track which night the player is currently on. Think of variables as digital folders that store specific information. Since our game has 7 nights, we will need to duplicate this script 7 times, each time adjusting the value to reflect the correct night. Variables are crucial for game development. They allow us to store and reference important data throughout the project. Without them, it would be difficult to manage things like progress or events in the game. You will see that we will be using variables frequently from this point onward to keep everything running smoothly. You might be wondering why the game shows night 7 instead of night 1. This happens because I have set the variable to 7. Since the variable's value is 7, the game assumes it's the 7th night. To resolve this, simply use a variable block to set the nights back to 1. There's no need for a green flag block here, because the game will automatically save and reset the night to 1 when you click on the project. Additionally, we don't want the night to reset every time the green flag is clicked, so keeping the night reset logic separate from the green flag will ensure it works as intended. Next, let us move on to adding a new loading screen. This loading screen will serve a different purpose from the previous one. It is specifically designed to load and reset variables. This is crucial because, before each new night in the game, we need to reset everything, such as the power, the doors, and the animatronics, to their starting value so players have a fresh experience each time. This is where variables come into play. By resetting the necessary variables, we ensure that the game starts with a clean slate for every night. However, we also want to be mindful of the player's experience. While it is important to allow enough time for the project to load and reset the variables properly, we do not want the loading screen to last too long. Ideally, the loading time should be just enough to ensure everything is ready, but not so long that the player gets frustrated or has to wait unnecessarily. We will revisit this loading screen several times throughout the guide, because it is the central place where we store and manage the variables that reset each night. This means we will need to continually refine it as we add new mechanics to the game. Great job, we have finished the script. Now, we can move on to the exciting part, designing the office. While you do not need to copy my design, I highly encourage you to get creative and develop your own unique style. For my office, I will keep it simple to match the mechanics I plan to implement later, but feel free to experiment and make it your own. Remember, the office is where the player will spend most of their time, around 99% of the game. It is important to create an environment that's both engaging and atmospheric. Take your time with a design. This is an opportunity to add personality and immerse the player in the world you've created. Enjoy the process and be proud of the progress you're making. I am really happy with how my office turned out. Now, it is time to bring it to life with some coding. If you would prefer to keep your office static, that's perfectly fine, but I want to add a bit of interactivity by allowing players to look around the office. The code for this is quite simple, and I will guide you through it step by step. This will help make the office feel more immersive and dynamic, but feel free to adjust it to match your vision for the game. This version provides a bit more clarity and encourages the user to explore while explaining the coding process. This part might seem a bit tricky, especially for newer developers, so let us break it down. To move the player's view in the office, you will want to adjust the X and Y coordinates to negative values. This way, when you move the cursor, it will shift the player's viewpoint to the exact location you want them to look at. The lower you set the values for X and Y, the more the office will move. I cannot give you a specific number for each coordinate, as it depends on the size of your office layout. However, the goal is to allow the player to look around without seeing the edges or corners of the office. You can refer to the video to see how I measured and adjusted the values to achieve the right balance. Once you are finished, take a moment to go back to the project page and check out your progress. It is looking so much better compared to the last guide. Your game now has more depth, and we finally have a solid foundation to build on. You can now press play and load into the game, which is a great milestone. In the next guide, we will be focusing on creating the door and door light buttons. Thank you all for the incredible support on the last few videos. It is truly motivating to see so many of you following along and enjoying these guides. If you want to see more, do not forget to like and follow, and I will be posting a new guide every day. Take a moment to appreciate the progress you have made today, and tomorrow I will be back with a new guide. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone.